How are you all doing? You good?
Good. Great.
Nice. So you've been not here yesterday. Today is your first day at Lisk.js. Was amazing what you presented before, so congrats on that. Let me quickly check the questions. We have 7, 10, 13, no, it's 11 questions in total as far as I can see it. So let me start with you, Mitsuaki, with an introduction question from Lang Dong. He would like to know if any developer can contribute modules, plugins, if they all can just develop it themselves as well.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. You can develop your own custom plugin or module. And in fact, we have a very thorough documentation on lisk.com. So I encourage you guys to check that out and get to building.
So everyone can just build their own modules, plugins. Probably it's easiest to build a blockchain application, and then they see, okay, what plugins or modules they require for it, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And from a difficulty standpoint, so you explained on stage the difference from on-chain to off-chain, modules being on-chain, plugins being off-chain. So I guess plugins is maybe something quite easy to begin with, to get involved with the Lisk SDK, or what would be your opinion?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe you can start with plugins, and then you can try out modules. But overall, I would say they're both probably around the same difficulty level. And like I said, there's a really good documentation. So yeah, I would recommend you guys to check that out.
Cool. And Ishan, you were presenting Lisk SDK 5.1, which features 2 new plugins, the dashboard and the fostered plugin. And as a backend developer at Lisk, you were obviously involved in developing those. Could you maybe let us know how easy it was to build a new plugin for you?
Yeah, maybe I can compare it with what we had in 5.0 version. So just a couple of months back, we developed this social recovery system. And without having these tools like bootstrapping and dashboard plugin, it was a bit hard. Like you have to write your application from scratch. And also, like in order to monitor your running node, it was a bit hard. Like you have to enable the HTTP API, go to the web browser, check the API result, or check the logs. But with this new feature, like application bootstrapping, with just a couple of commands, you can just start your application, which is up and running. And also, in order to monitor, I think dashboard is very helpful. You can see all the recent blocks and transactions. You can interact with the node. So you don't have to go around in different places to see these things. So I think it's greatly enhancing the developer experience overall.
Interesting. You said something of like connecting to a node. It's another question actually. A community member wanted to know, can you connect with a live node can you connect to a live node with the Lisk console command and run functions using CLI?
Yeah. So with Lisk console, like I showed in the presentation, you have access to all these element libraries. And you might want to run these commands not only offline, but also interact with the connected node. So you can just write Lisk console, add the flag to give the URL to your node, and you are connected with it. And then you can start running different functions. Like, for example, you can create transactions, get blocks, or these kind of things. So I think, it will be, the only thing you have to care about is that you have to enable the API, either WebSocket or IPC, should be enabled on your running node, and then you can just easily connect and interact with it.
So you have to enable it. It's a security measure, likely, that you first have to enable it on your node.
Yeah, like if you want to just test something locally, I think enabling IPC is better, in my opinion. When you have a node running somewhere else, I think you can just enable WebSocket, and then you can connect with it. So in that way, you can also like take care of the security if you don't want to expose it to the world.
And that would obviously also go for like a node of your own blockchain application or of the testnet for Lisk, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe, okay, when you say you could connect to like a testnet node, for example, as well, or a testnet of your blockchain application, then the question to you, Nazar, someone was wondering, because you built a blockchain application live on stage and you had a local network running for that essentially, and someone was wondering if we would now make it public, but still it's just a testnet. So a public testnet like the Lisk testnet would be. If it costs any money to keep that running or to establish that, if someone would create an application with the Lisk SDK.
Yeah. I think for running a public testnet, it's just required the infrastructure cost or operational cost of running the nodes. And running the nodes with the lowest specifications like 512 megabyte of memory and 1 gigahertz of the processor is just required for running a simple node. And for this spec, it does not require a lot of money. So if you want your testnet to run with 10 nodes, and those 10 nodes run on this spec, it will cost you probably less than $10 a month for complete network. But it's all up to you how you want to grow. But the operational cost is up to you related to the running a particular node. It has nothing to do with the Lisk or any SDK related cost. The application development and the SDK is all free, open source, so you can use it. But running the nodes will cost you the operational ones.
Okay, so you mentioned the node requirements are pretty low. Someone was actually asking, is it possible to run like such a node also on a Raspberry Pi?
I have not tried myself, but I heard in my community that people have tried it and it will work. Theoretically, wherever Node.js can run, these applications can run. And this is one of the benefits of within the Node.js or JavaScript ecosystem. So we don't need to reinvent the building tools at all. So whatever tools are available for building Node.js on the Raspberry Pi, if Node.js can build there and can run there, then our application can definitely run there. And since the hardware requirement for running our application is very low, I think you can run it on your Nokia mobile as well in future soon.
Yes, nice. Yeah, so wherever Node.js runs, Lisk runs too. That's essentially nearly every device nowadays.
Every device.
And you mentioned it, Lisk is completely open source. Everything is for free. A developer can just jump onto it right away. We don't take any money. It's all to better the world and to bring blockchain technology to more developers. Great. Then we have one question here in regards to smart contracts. So someone was wondering, so Lisk is not a smart contract platform. It's like we are having an SDK with which you can build your own blockchain, where you implement the features natively into, like Nazar was showing. But someone was wondering, what would be if you develop a smart contract module so that you could actually upload maybe a smart contract and execute it? And that I would like to point to you, Mitsu. What do you think?
Sure. So we don't have all the details yet. This is entirely theoretical. But at the minimum, we would need to build a virtual machine with a custom module. And then we would probably need one or more custom transaction types to transfer the smart contract logic onto the custom module.
Yeah, so you would create a custom transaction to upload such a smart contract, and then some kind of module which has a virtual machine to execute those safely without like causing vulnerabilities on the network.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so yeah, seems like there's some interest in that from the community. So yeah, excited what the next steps are there. Talking about smart contracts, Rishi, you were also comparing Lisk to Ethereum, which is a smart contract platform. And you were talking sometimes about like the fees users have to pay for, especially if they're competing on one smart contract platform with other dApps or other smart contracts. And while sometimes it's the case, especially recently, that some users have to pay a large gas fee to execute their, for example, on a decentralized exchange, their trades. And can this problem be somehow solved by us with the Lisk SDK?
I think with the Lisk interoperability and with the sidechains upcoming, I think this is what we are exactly trying to do: solve the problems with scalability and the fees. So right now, as we can see on Ethereum, there's a very big problem of the huge fees that the users need to pay, especially for the very popular apps like Uniswap or with the popular apps before like CryptoKitties. So with the Lisk interoperability, what happens is each application gets to live on its each own sidechain, which is an independent sidechain. This means the blocks that will be produced on that particular sidechain are just reserved for the application. So this means they have their own block space, and the gas fees is only related to the transaction of that particular application. So I think with the Lisk ecosystem and with many sidechains and with all these applications living on them, I think the users will not need to be worried about the gas fees in the future.
Mm-hmm. And because it's like distributed, the fees will definitely be lower than currently on this one gigantic platform like Ethereum. But then, while this already says, okay, it's probably more scalable. But then someone wanted to know if Lisk can also be used for high performance applications, which usually have like, let's say, a few 100,000 or millions of transactions per day.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we have recently seen some of these high performance applications being built on some other blockchains. But I think personally, with the Lisk ecosystem and the upcoming interoperability phase, this can be even more higher. So as you have seen with the new Lisk SDK, we now support configurable block size. This means we can go up to 100 kilobytes of blocks, which we have already tested internally, and even much more. This allows more block space and more transactions to go into the same blocks, which means you have more options for storage and more options for higher transaction per second. So it's definitely well suited for these high performance applications like a decentralized exchange or maybe also micropayments.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So we tested 100 kilobyte per block. In our case, the block comes every 10 seconds by default, at least. So that's already quite a bit, but well, maybe it's even possible to increase that in the future. We have not tested it, but it's likely, right? So like if now like one sidechain comes to the maximum, like let's say a decentralized exchange, you were talking about horizontal scaling in your presentation. Could you just deploy a second sidechain for your own app, like which is maybe the same code and everything, but then users could use either or?
So it depends. So generally, this applications have their own ecosystem and their own sets of users. So normally, a sidechain which becomes popular initially, most of the users will tend to remain on that particular sidechain. But theoretically, it is possible that these applications can have a clone sidechain where it can do like a testnet transactions or maybe even other kinds of transaction. But yeah, it's possible to have a separate sidechain for the same app.
Okay, because I know it from like MMOs where they just deploy multiple servers then. But in our case, we have interoperability. So yes, there are multiple servers or multiple sidechains, but well, with the protocol, you could still have them connected, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's cool. Then, while talking about developing, Ishan, as a backend developer at Lisk, all these developer-focused features you were introducing, well, you developed them, so you have also used them, I assume. And someone just wants to know what was your experience like, developing them, but also using them.
Yeah, so like for example, if you want to create a plugin, I think now it's pretty easy if you use one of the features, like you can just generate a plugin source file along with the test files, and you can just start focusing on the logic. So for example, we have dashboard plugin that we have built. You can have like less complicated UI stuff as well, like you can have simple HTTP API as well. Just start your Express server, and with the Lisk API client, you can just interact with the running node with the plugin. So the writing off-chain logic, I think it's a bit easier with also custom modules. I think on-chain logic also gets easier with the bootstrapping, and because the bootstrapping also creates the skeleton for all the lifecycle hooks. And you can just focus on the logic that goes inside that lifecycle hook. So for example, when you're applying any transaction, you just focus on that particular area. So for a new developer, and especially new to the Lisk SDK architecture, I think it is a bit easier for a person to get started with it, rather than like fumbling with different tools and different modules within the Lisk framework. So yeah, I think overall experience have been improved a lot, and also with the new architecture, it has simplified quite a lot of things, like where the on-chain logic will go, where the off-chain logic will go. So yeah, definitely, I think it has improved a lot, and yeah, maybe in the future it will further improve.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Bless you. You mentioned also like the front end. We've seen it in Nazar's presentation, and actually it was asked during Mitsuaki's your part. Someone wants to know if you could just build an app, like a sidechain that would be the back end of your application, and then you would like to, of course, have a front end as well, a user interface. And if you could use common frameworks for that, like Vue or React, to build these front-end user interfaces?
Yeah, so the answer is absolutely you can. As you saw earlier, the dashboard plugin and also the faucet plugin both use React as the front-end interface. So yeah, if you want to work with those front-end technologies, you can use our plugin system. And you can also look at the source code for the dashboard and faucet plugin. And yeah, that should give you a pretty good idea on how to do it. So simple answer, yes.
Awesome, cool. And well, coming to the man who developed the blockchain application on the stage, could you just maybe tell with your own words a little bit like how your experience was? How long did it take you to build this blockchain application? You were the only one developing it,
Yep.
as far as I know, yes. So yeah, how long did it take? What was your experience like?
For me, with the Lisk SDK 5.0, I think for any application development framework, apart from the blockchain or anything, the biggest challenge for developing is to get started. No matter is it like a blockchain or any other industry, for any application development, if you get started quickly, you can do things very quickly. So with this, our features, with the bootstrapping, you can get started within one command and then focus on all of your implementation. So this helps me a lot while developing this application. And the overall time, I say I spent a week on it, but the most of the time I spent was on understanding and learning the Ethereum name service protocol. So I have the theoretical founding on understanding of how things are done, and specifically the DNS integration, which is a complex thing for domain names. So I spend most of my time there, but if I took part of the actual development, I think 3 days were totally spent on developing this backend and the front end of the application.
Okay, so you spent around 3 days with the hardcore development and around 2 days or so.
2 to 3 days more for actually understanding the protocol of the Ethereum name service, so I can use or reuse the same logic in the Lisk name service.
Yeah, the research part, similar how we are developing Lisk SDK, first research and then development.
Definitely.
Nice, yeah, cool. I think this just shows how far our SDK came, right? Like you're developing one in a week, which was amazing. Our community loved it. I saw the comments. With the Lisk Grant program and the hackathon, developers have a lot more time to build their blockchain application. So I really can't wait to see what incredible stuff they're coming up with. Okay, all questions are answered. Thank you so much for being here today.